Oh.
Hare Krishna, beautiful people. Welcome once again to the Soul Ashraya podcast, a weekly bhakti podcast. We will seek the shelter and wisdom of our dear Lord Krishna with Shastra, prayer, and conversation. I am your host, Bhakti Jake, and I am joined by my friends, Balaram Shakti Das and Kirtan Eshwar, who currently have a really bad case of road rage right now because they're driving through New Mexico. I'm just kidding. This is road rage. This is the road rage episode. It's going to be like Road Warrior here. How are you guys doing? Hare Krishna, my friends. How are you doing?
Hare Krishna. We are doing absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Very blissful.
We're happy. Balaram was outside of Tucson and we weren't able to speak for a month, and now we've been speaking. But actually, for the last probably 2 hours, we've not stopped speaking about Krishna.
Oh wow, cool. Yeah, so you guys are obviously in the car on a road trip. Where are you going, and why are you going to where you're going?
Well, we're going to Dallas, Texas.
That's a plus.
One of our devotees in Tucson that we've been preaching to for a few months. He is becoming very serious about Krishna consciousness, and so he's going to go stay at the Krishna house in Dallas for a month before he moves back into our temple for permanent residence in the Tucson temple.
We got him in the trunk.
Nice, good. That's where we put the new devotees, right in the trunk. Yeah, you got to earn a seat. That's right.
Not until he gets his stripes, then he can be in the adult seats.
That's right. For now, it's back.
Spiritual hierarchy.
Yeah, spiritual hierarchy. For now, it's back in the trunk with the cat litter and the spare tire. Yep. Gotta work your way up, bud. No, the Dallas thing is pretty cool, though. I know that the Dallas temple, it's like a house temple kind of a deal, right? I know they have a good Instagram.
Oh, it's big.
Yeah.
Dallas temple's massive. Well, there's a Dallas Krishna house, that's separate. That's where he's going to stay, but the temple itself in Dallas is one of the biggest temples in America and has the most elaborate deity worship in the country. Some of it. LA's more, has a very famous deity, Radha Kalachandji. Kalachandji is a 500-year-old deity that supposedly Lord Chaitanya even saw. And so most people in America's favorite deity is Kalachandji. And our spiritual master, Grace Jivananda Prabhu, was one of the founding people of the Dallas community. And he was one of the pujaris for Kalachandji, so it's a special place for us.
Yeah. No, I know one of the guys that I really like a lot, he served in Dallas over at the Dallas temple, and it's a beautiful temple. I know that they do a live stream of their darshans. I guess I didn't know that the house was separate from the temple, but that makes sense now. I think I've gone on at length about how like most of my family is from Dallas, but for whatever reason I got stuck up north in Rochester, New York, which as not quite as cool as being in Texas, but it's okay, I guess. Krishna puts you where he needs you, you know? So, all right, well.
Might not have met Balaram if you were in Texas.
Yeah, you wouldn't have met me.
That is very true. So, that is very true. Well, I don't know if you guys have your books with you today.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
you
sir.
do? Oh, nice.
Prepared.
We got it ready.
Oh, nice. Way ahead of me. Nice. All right. Well, I kind of want to go right to the prayers, the mantras.
Yeah.
And say the mantras real quick, and then we can get right into the book. Let me go to my screen share very quickly. Yes. Right.
I mean, the phone might be easier for me to have motion sickness. So I'll say the mantra chant.
Sure.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnanatamaradhyasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Ashchacha Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jai.
Yeah.
Jai Shri Krishna. Okay. Now, let me bring up the text. Krishna book. Oh. Yes. Here we go. All right. So we left off. We are still in the second chapter. I'm going to get it up here. Oh, yeah. All right. So we are in the second chapter, and we left off last week with this was such a great thing that we got into last week. We are talking about this amazing little passage, this paragraph right here, about understanding the nature of Krishna. Oh, yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm sorry. I gotta tell you guys where we're at. Today we're gonna be reading. It's gonna start in the second chapter, towards the end of the chapter. It starts with, "O Lord, the impersonalists or non-devotees cannot understand that your name is identical with your form." And we can hop in right there because that's such a great, that's great right there. You know, that's a very good start right there. Let me get that up and highlight it. I'm hoping that this highlighting helps people to see. So you guys want me to go ahead and read this?
Yeah.
Okay.
O Lord, the impersonalists or non-devotees cannot understand that your name is identical with your form. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his name and his actual form. In the material world, there is a difference between form and name. The mango fruit is different from the name of the mango. one cannot taste the mango fruit simply by chanting mango, mango, mango. But the devotee who knows that there is no difference between the name and the form of the Lord chants Hare Krishna, or Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and realizes that he is always in Krishna's company. That is just a fantastic thing to know. That's some of the best news I've heard all day right there.
Horrible.
Because when I'm at work, it is like so, I mean, think about that. Right now, Krishna is telling me that all I got to do is just chant that mantra, and he's right there, right? So we know as believers that, you know, we have an idea of the power, the omnipotence of God, how God is everywhere all the time. But sometimes maybe you're in a certain situation and you need, like, you're like, you know, like something crazy happened, and you need, like, to just pray, like you don't know what to do next, and you just pray or repeat the mantra, as it were. I kind of feel like repeating the mantra and praying are pretty much the same thing. That's just me. That's my humble opinion. But yeah, that is like super, super good to know that he is his name. He is that mantra. And that mantra is him, all in one, complete package, 100%. Now, that is something to be very, I mean, when are we going to start? Okay, let me reframe this real quick. Okay, because this just hit me. And I don't like to talk a lot, but I'm gonna take the microphone and run on this real quick. So these are the holy names, okay? This mantra is like us praying to God, right? So this is something that's been happening in my own life, and I don't know if other people can dig what I'm about to say, but I'm going to tell you something right now, is that when I start saying the Maha Mantra, when I start my rounds in the morning, it is like I can feel like I want to start crying, like I'm starting to get emotional, like I'm starting to feel it more and more. And so when are we as devotees going to stop, like, just like rushing through the rounds, like, oh, I got to get 16 rounds in? Why don't you stop and just like let the rounds chant? You know, like that's the only way I can really like kind of summarize how I'm feeling, is like you're chanting, but the round is actually chanting. Like the mantra itself is starting to take on a new life, like a real solid thing is starting to happen when I'm chanting those rounds. And it's not, and I am not going for numbers right now. Of course, I'm trying to get initiated, you know, like I'm on that path. I'd like to think I'm on that path, but I feel like the quality of the mantra is where it's at. And that's where the real potency is starting to really kick in for me. Like when I start in the morning, if I get one round in for the day, that's okay with me, because whatever happens, like, that is real. It is real. It is really happening. I'm starting to feel like emotional when I never felt that before, but now it's starting to kick in. And for me, it's not like a numbers thing anymore. It's just like letting it happen. Let the emotions flow, chant slowly, just keep that feeling. And that feeling is like, oh, I want more of this. Like, I want, like, it's so hard to explain. All you know is like, you want more of it. You want to feel that feeling for the rest of the day. And it lasts for a little while, but in my work environment, you got to kind of take the nectar in the morning and then just kind of like make it last as long as you can. So, but you guys, please, by all means, speak to that.
Well, I remembered a verse that what you're saying. I got a few things to say. One is about working, our working life, our spiritual life. And there's a verse in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmaram yucha maya prita mano buddhir ma me vishashya shamshayaha. He says that just think of me in the form of Krishna, while at the same time perform your prescribed duty of fighting. With your mind and intelligence attached to me, surely you will achieve me without fail. So Prabhupada, in that purport of that verse, Prabhupada says that for a working person in the world, this is a very specific instruction that, of course, in Arjuna's case, it's fighting, but in our case, it may be doing, whatever your job may be. We're doing that, but we're thinking of Krishna. And Prabhupada says, so we may not be able to think of the form of Krishna, but we can think of the holy name of Krishna. So therefore, Prabhupada instructs us that wherever we do, whatever time, place, and circumstance we may be in, we should chant the holy name constantly. And so Lord Chaitanya said we can chant the holy name constantly, but we can't do that right away. So we're working to that. But one of the things he also mentioned is, it's kind of an interesting point about, like quality, one round of certain quality versus 16 rounds and just trying to get it done. But I think at a certain point, there's a shift in consciousness that happens because, devotees who get initiated, we take a vow. And, like sometimes that's not an easy thing all the time. You have to get your rounds done. The level you want them to be at. In fact, you'll never feel like they're at the level you want them to be at. But that's the thing about a vow is that consistency of the daily practice where every single day I'm going to do it. It's transformative because it really makes you learn. It forces you to learn how I can chant my rounds in a way that is the most beneficial for me. And so that's one of the things that's appreciated about vows is that no matter what position you're at in the material world, you're going to complete your rounds. So you learn how to complete your rounds in a way that is going to work with your life and how to, it actually, chanting is a practice, so you get very good at it that way. Just like if you're lifting weights, you have a certain regimen you perform, and then you get very strong. So vows help us become strong. So whether we're vowing to ourselves to chant 1 round a day, 2 rounds a day, but to have a consistent amount of rounds we're going to chant every day is recommended by our acharyas to give us spiritual strength. Because otherwise we kind of run the risk of performing mode of passion devotional service. At least that's my experience, is that, when I chant, if I'm chanting just based on how I feel, because sometimes that's like, sometimes I don't feel it, I don't have I'm not, like you said, I'm not pure enough to see that this is Krishna all the time. But so if I let that stop my chanting, then that's going to be like, I'll be like on the, ever serious or never like steadily making progress. When I just like, okay, I'm going to do this because I love my guru, or I'm going to do this because I'm just going to do it. Then now, even if I don't feel it, I'm still doing it. Therefore, I'm not losing any spiritual progress. And that actually is one of the processes of bhakti. That means you're surrendering to that. You're surrendering to the holy name. You do it in a fixed number. And so then you get a whole other experience. And that actually, you begin to feel the emotions, which, when I first started chanting, getting very intense emotions sometimes. But then those may fade away. It's like the free sample at the store, you get like, and after years of chanting, it's like, where's the juice? But you're still chanting. And that becomes such a comfort, that actually start to feel, I guess, you start to feel that Krishna is my friend, the Mahamantra is my friend. It's always there. I always have it. And Balaram mentioned the verse, Shri Krishna Navadi, Navavedgaram Indriyayi, that one.
Okay, let me just say something on that point, and then it'll tie into this verse. Is really what we're doing is we're forming a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we're forming a relationship with our guru too, right? It's a love thing, it's like, so there's like the fairweather friend, right? It's like I'll do it when it feels good, and you're not actually friends. That's not what a friend is. Friend is someone you can count on no matter what, right? So that might start as a duty for us just because we're in mundane consciousness, and that means we're kind of starting from an impersonal, like we don't have the personal connection. It's kind of like both are there, but what the point I'm trying to get to is that love is developing, like actual love, and so everything that we're doing in Krishna consciousness is to bring in the consciousness of Krishna, right? Who is our friend and who we are building a relationship with. And that relationship includes the entire cosmic manifestation, the whole world, all which a microcosm of which is in our own individual self. And so that's a big deal. Like that's a big thing. And so when we're getting closer to God, what's happening, we were talking about this a little earlier, is energy, like there's stuck energy in our heart because it's been closed to love, right? Like the fairweather thing, it's like we think we're being spontaneous when we say, I'm going to do what feels good when I feel it. We think that that's spontaneity, but it's actually bondage. Your heart isn't yet free. It's a superficial experience of freedom. And when it's in connection with God, of course, that's a different thing. That's you're engaging in the process of freeing yourself, and therefore you feel the emotions. Those are, that's bhava vasa. That's actual purification of the heart. Whereas with mundane emotions, the fair weather affairs, those are just leaving impressions. But these, we're opening ourselves to God by chanting His name. And it's like there's no hard and fast rules. Any way that you chant, any way that you connect with Krishna, like we were talking about the last episode, the mercy is not dependent on you. It's going to touch you no matter what. And so these emotions come through, and chanting Hare Krishna is a complete process because it's allowing the energy to move through, and you're able to express, you're able to give some form to that energy. And that is what, but vis-a-vis chanting, vibrating, making a sound, and whatever you need to express, whatever the emotion is, the point is that you're not hiding from it. It means you're inviting God into all of you, your whole self. That's the name of God. And that is different from material names. So the mundane consciousness, material consciousness, gets caught up in the names, forms, and energies of the material worlds and tries to associate with them according to its preferences and conditioning, and experiences happiness and distress because of those interactions with the modes of nature. But those aren't things that, as Prabhupada is saying here, if you just chant the word mango, you're not going to be able to taste mango. That tattva, it can't manifest in your consciousness. Maybe you can help me out here, Sandra. I'm trying to link this with Atashi Krishnamani. So,
Well, it's that, ultimately we're practicing devotional service. So service implies always commitment. Service always implies commitment, especially when you add that loving element to it. So like when there's a married couple, there's always certain feelings that exist. There's romantic feelings, there's sexual attraction, there's maybe anger. There's so many things that are going to be there, but they're not all going to exist simultaneously. And some will exist at a certain stage more than others will exist. But if they really love each other because of that commitment, they're not going to break up when they get in an argument, or they're not going to divorce. They're working together because now there's a commitment that I'm doing this for you, and I'm willing to sacrifice, and I'm willing to compromise. And so what you find is that when you meet old couples who've been married for many years, they're beyond the romantic thing a lot of the time, but they love each other very deeply, more than any mundane or fling that we see in the material world. They love each other very deeply because for many, many years they've been working at this love and this commitment. And so in the same way, our relationship with Krishna is also, love is something that's beyond any feelings. Of course, we may feel sometimes romantic feelings or loving feelings toward Krishna, beautiful sentiments and tears. This may happen sometimes even at our lower levels. We may feel some taste of these things, which is good. That's wonderful. And those are what keeps us going. That's what, any relationship, there has to be some ras, there has to be some juice. But when that commitment is there, that's a serious act of love. In the same way, a service, if someone's working for a job, there's a commitment and there's an exchange. So they're going to work on time. So the service and love, there's always commitment involved. So the service that the holy name is actually a service. Or the holy name is a service. So a loving service. And Arjuna, Balaram Shakti, Arjuna, Atul, is the name of the disciple. Balaram Shakti Prabhu, he's quoting that verse, Atashri Krishna Namadi Napavet Graham Indriyai, Seva Mukha Hijivadao. Last line. Swayameva Svaratyada. That this holy name, that Krishna's form, pastimes, paraphernalia, and name are only revealed by Seva Mukha Hijivadao, by tasting prasadam and by chanting the holy name. But especially there's that word Seva, that by rendering service of the tongue to the prasadam, the holy name. And actually taking prasadam and chanting Hare Krishna is a service. Seva Mukha Hijivadao. And therefore, what happens? Nabhaved Graham Indriyai, that then the senses which are covered, they become uncovered. And then Krishna reveals Swayam Eva Sparatyada. Krishna reveals himself. So
the text was
so the point I'm getting at is that, in reply to his comment, and in reply to having Krishna as our companion all the time, is that when we're initiated, sometimes if you say you're a brahmachari, it's very easy to chant all your rounds, but then someone gets married and then all of a sudden they're going through all this struggles and things. Still, if by that commitment, if they're finishing their rounds, Krishna really appreciates that, because even though they may not be of the highest quality, we have to continue to strive.
Right.
And that single pointed determination to do a set amount, it manifests in this feeling that no matter what I do, no matter where I'm at, I still have this vow, and I'm taking shelter of this vow, and therefore I'm taking shelter of Guru and the Parampara, and therefore I'm receiving Krishna's mercy. And I've also not just taken a vow to chant Hare Krishna, but I've taken a vow to chant Hare Krishna better and better and better and better every day. And so that really carries one. It gives one a lot of strength because there's a sankalpa, there's a goal. And in that way, the devotee, by his service, he begins to see Krishna everywhere, or begins to feel Krishna's presence everywhere. And that feeling of Krishna's presence everywhere is a result of surrender. There's 6 symptoms of surrender that we were hearing about from His Holiness Bhakti Abhay Ashram Swami Maharaj this morning in Bhagavatam class. One of those 6 feelings of surrender is always feeling like the Lord is protecting you and taking full shelter of the Lord, feeling like the Lord is maintaining us completely. So by that surrender.
Kind of breaking up a little bit on that one. All right. Well, like I said, they're out driving through New Mexico or Texas or something like that. So could be that the signal dropped off. So while they are dropping off or going through maybe a dead zone or something, I will take a moment to thank our YouTube audience and thank our the wider audience as well for checking us out and watching us. And yep, yeah, yeah, they dropped off. That's okay. That's okay. It's hard to do a show when you're like in a car driving through the country, but I want to thank everyone for watching us and um, please, by all means, like, um, leave comments. We love to answer questions, whatever kind of question you got, you know. Um, so thank you, YouTubers, and thank you to the wider audience of Krishna consciousness. This is the Soul Ashraya podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in and watching us. This is a weekly bhakti podcast where all we do is read through the Krishna book, sometimes sentence by sentence, sometimes paragraph by paragraph, and sometimes page by page. We go at our own pace. So thank you. Hare Krishna.